Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome back to art class. So if you watched the video up above here, which if you haven't, stop what you're doing, go watch it, because you're gonna learn something and it's really cool. Alright, hopefully we've all watched it at this point. So if you watched the video up above, which now I know all of you have, then you've got a pretty good idea what we're going to be talking about and learning about today. Today we are going to learn about an art form that has been around for hundreds and probably honestly even thousands of years at this point. It is a type of sculptural artwork. Remember, we've talked about the difference between two-dimensional artwork and three-dimensional artwork. 2D is flat, two-dimensional is flat, it's a drawing, it's a painting. Anything three-dimensional, you can see around it. It's got multiple sides and angles. You can pick it up sometimes and look under it. That would be a sculpture. So today we're going to talk about a type of sculpture called origami. So origami is a really interesting combination of that two-dimensional art idea and three-dimensional art idea, because you're starting off with a sheet of paper, which is two-dimensional, and you are changing it through a series of making different folds into something that is three-dimensional. So like we said, origami has been around for a very long time, so long that it's been around almost as long as paper. Because it would have been hard to make artwork out of paper if you didn't have paper yet. So around the year 105, that's right, the year 105, that's a long time ago. Around the year 105, people in China invented paper. Thanks a lot. We needed it. That's awesome. A couple hundred years later, that paper gets taken by monks from China to Japan, probably around the year 500 to 600, somewhere in there. And it's in Japan where people start using this paper to do more than just write on and more than just, draw and make artwork in a two-dimensional form. Paper was still really, really expensive, really hard to come by. So when the people in Japan started making what we now know as origami, it was for like really special, really important purposes. A lot of times it would have something to do with like a religious ceremony, something like a wedding or a funeral, something really, really big, really important. Fast forward to around the year 1600 and paper is less expensive, easier to come by, and now people in Japan in 1600 have started doing it as more of just like a pastime, more of something fun to do, relaxing to do, things like that. So as far as origami, how long has it been around? It's been around since probably the year 500 or so. How long have people been doing it? A whole lot. That's closer to that, like, year 1600 when people started doing it, just whenever they wanted. So there's several different kinds of origami. There's different techniques. There are some that are really strict. You can only use one piece of paper. That's it. There are some where the rules aren't as strict. There are types of origamis where you can cut that paper, where you can use multiple pieces of paper to make something. A lot of modern origami, like the examples from the videos, a lot of those will involve getting your paper damp or wet to helping it kind of bend and form into some of those more curved looking shapes. So there's many different ways to do this. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It just kind of depends on what you are going for. One interesting thing that I learned while I was doing some research about the history of origami is origami has played like a major role in science. And when we think of something like this satellite, those big giant wing looking things going out to the side, those are the solar panels that keep it charged to keep it running. Well, they weren't sticking out like that when a rocket took it up into space. They were folded up. And scientists and mathematicians for years have been using techniques and principles and ideas that originated in origami to figure out how to do things like this, how to make complicated shapes fold into smaller and smaller shapes. There is even such thing, I have learned, as an origami self-folding robot. Looks like this. I don't know how it works because I'm an art teacher, but it's cool and also kind of creepy because the thought of a robot folding itself, I don't know, gives me nightmares. All right, so that's kind of a really long period of the history of origami in a really short period of time. So let's talk about what we're gonna do today. I bet you know, because you guys are smart. We're gonna make some origami sculptures. So our origami sculpture that we are making today is going to be a boat. Now, one of the cool things about this boat is when you are done with it, it will actually float on water for a little while because it's paper, and we all know what happens when paper gets really wet. So I wouldn't leave it in the pond, or else it won't be around very long. But if you wanted to test it and see if it'll float, feel free. It's your piece of artwork. I'm not telling you what to do with it, but just be careful because you're gonna spend some time making this, and hopefully you like it when it's done. All right, let's get started making our boat. All right, so for our origami boat, we are gonna need a piece of paper. And that's kind of it. If you want to decorate it, you can use some crayons or some markers, whatever you have, but that's up to you. So now there's two ways you could decorate this if you choose to. You can wait till it's all the way finished and then decorate what you can see when it's done, or you might want to decorate one side of your paper before you get started. That's up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and at least color a little bit on one side, just mainly so you guys can kind of see the difference between which side of my paper I'm folding in which direction, which will hopefully make it a little bit easier to follow along. I will probably also, a time or two, use my Sharpie to draw the line where I've folded it, just so you guys can see a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and, just like I said, put just a little bit of color on one side of my paper. Traditional origami paper is usually a color or a pattern on one side, and then on the other side it'll be just white. And a lot of traditional origami uses that. They use the different colors. So when you're done, part of it will be white and part of it will be colored or have patterns on it or whatever. And some of that goes into the design. All right, so I'm using just a regular rectangular piece of paper. The size doesn't matter really, as long as it's in a rectangle. Much smaller than a regular sheet of paper, and it might be kind of hard to do some of these folds, but you can use bigger if you want. This thing we're doing, you can make out of a whole sheet of newspaper or something if you want. All right, so I'm gonna start with my white side up. If you're decorating yours later, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to go ahead and fold it down in the middle. I'm going to take my time and try and make sure my corners match real good, and then I'm going to crease that line really well. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold it from side to side in half again. But that one I'm going to go ahead and open back up. All right, now this top corner here, actually, like I said, let me go ahead and make a line here so you guys can see where my crease is. All right, so now my top corner, I'm going to fold over towards myself and down until I get to that center line that my crease made. And I'm gonna make a real good crease there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Fold it over and down towards me until I get to the center. Make a real good crease there. All right, So now, down here at the bottom, this straight part, I'm gonna fold just 1/2 of it up over the front. I'm gonna fold it up till I get to this line, which there's not really a crease there when you start. That's just the line that's made by folding those corners of your paper down. So I'm gonna fold up on that line. Then I'm gonna flip it over this piece here. I'm gonna fold up to the exact same or as close as I can get it spot. All right, now this part can be a little challenging, so if it takes you a couple tries, don't worry about it, that's fine. I'm gonna kind of show you from the bottom. If we open this up, we can put our hand in there. We want that pocket to be there. So then all I have to do is keep opening that pocket, and it should be kind of easy from where you made the creases down there. I'm gonna kind of push these ends together and fold it over on itself. And then I'm gonna tuck this little corner in behind that one, flip it over, same thing there. So when you're done, you'll have a square with little flaps folded over each other. I'm gonna open this back up and show you that one more time. All right, so we folded up both of our sides, and it looks like a strange little hat. Actually, it already kind of looks like a sailboat, but let's go with strange little hat. I'm gonna open it up so I can see that little pocket right here. And then this side and this side, I'm gonna bring in towards each other like that. So when I'm done, I'll have this square diamond shape, and I'm gonna tuck that corner under that one, and this one under that one. It doesn't really matter which corner you tuck where. All right, so here is my square diamond. All right, so from the bottom, from my part that has the little flaps that I folded, we could see there's like another pocket now. I'm going to fold this up all the way to the tip top of my boat and make a nice good crease right there. I'm gonna flip it over and do the exact same thing. Fold that up to the top and make a nice good crease right there. So now, same thing, we want our pocket. I'm gonna fold these corners in together, and we should have still like a diamond shape. And now this top part and this top part, I can start to pull apart from each other. And you might need to kind of bend this inside down just a little bit as you do it. Might take a little work, but as you start to get those pulled away, you will be left with a boat. And it'll stand up like this, which that's kind of the wrong angle for you to see that, but let's pretend that this is my table and my boat would stand up like this. That's also how this boat would float if I put it on water. Now remember, paper will kind of melt if it gets too wet, so be careful with it. But yeah, that is your boat. Now if you see how I kind of mushed mine around and kind of bent it a little more, once you've got your 3D shape started, you can kind of bend it a little bit, manipulate it to get it to the exact kind of finished looking boat that you want. If you did not decorate it in the middle, which you can see most of my decorations not showing, and I think I started with my white side up, so you would probably want to start it the opposite direction. But if you did not decorate it before, now would be the time to do that. And then maybe go float it somewhere. If you don't want to, then that's fine too. It'll still look awesome and people will still be able to tell that it's a really good boat. So good job, my friends. Congratulations on your first, maybe, unless you've done this before, your first origami sculpture. Hope yours turned out well. See you guys later. Bye.